Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name's Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hey Steve, how you doing? I thought we'd intro with a little bit of church organ music today because I'll be honest, I didn't know what music was overlaid that countdown. There you go. Very nice though. I feel very calm and relaxed now, which is a shame because we want to be loud in this one, don't we? Because we've got a corker of a show coming up.
We're going to be competitive today, aren't we? We're going to have something a little bit different because this podcast, as every week, is about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golf. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game. Show number 39, but we've got a very special one, and it's a bit of a unique one as well because, well, we're going to be covering one of the biggest topics in junior golf, not just in junior golf actually, because this is something which crops up in every competitive round of golf that a youngster will play in, that an adult will play in, whether it's a senior, a junior, a lady. Everyone will have this issue as they are playing a round of golf because we are going to be talking about the rules of golf. Do you know the rules of golf, Ian?
Some. We are. Steve, I'm very excited for this rules quiz coming up. This is going to be an absolute corker. I'll let you introduce special guests in a bit because we've got the news and bits of us to do first. Can I just a little bit of housekeeping, of course, with this? We want you watching at home to get involved as well. You can do it a number of ways, but the best way to do it for us to be able to see your answers as well when we go through this is the live chat section at Live Sport Now on YouTube. There's a link in the body of this broadcast. So where it says in Facebook and we've got the description, there's a link which will take you through to the live chat. Also, up there, just above Steve's head, there's a QR code. Scan that. Again, it'll take you straight through to tonight's show. Just comment in that live chat and let's test your knowledge as well as our special guests as well. We can't wait. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, the way we're going to do it is we're going to do a rules quiz whereby we're going to give them 4 options for each question, A, B, C, or D. So if you do want to have a crack at this quiz as I'm going along, send in your A, B, C, D for each question, making sure you obviously give the number of the particular question we're asking, because you might give the answer to the previous one, in which case then we'll probably think you're useless at the rules quiz if they start getting them wrong. But that's the way we're doing it. Now, golf, as we well know, is a sport which is self-regulating, which means basically that the person who writes down their own score, it's vital that they know the rules because they might well be putting down the wrong score. And of course, learning the rules of golf, it's easy, isn't it, really?
Well, it's a sensitive subject, actually, Steve, the rules of golf, because people have fallen out. People who've been lifelong friends have fallen out over golf before. I read a story just the other day. Somebody was saying, I'm due to go to my mate's wedding and I'm his best man, but I caught him cheating the other day and we played golf for 5 years and I feel like everything's been soured a little bit. And I was like, wow. So it does have an impact. It is important. I mean, listen, you'd need to be an expert and you'd need to spend probably a year researching doing if you wanted to know every single thing in the rule book. And of course they changed them, didn't they? They changed it 2 years ago now, wasn't it? 2.5 years ago. Yes. Was the last major change of the rule book, but they do change quite a lot. So it's a bit like anything. You can't know it all. You're not going to know every single rule. And tonight will be interesting as well because there are things that you probably think you know and you think are right, but might actually not be right. So a bit of a learning night as well. And don't worry if you don't know, because I won't. So, it's part of learning.
If I tell you the story, we won't name names here, Ian, but you'll know one of the people who I'm talking about when I say this. That I did these questions with a rules official on the Faraday Series tour. And there was 2 or 3 other questions whereby he had to go and talk to another rules official because he wasn't certain the rule. And that's the guy who's doing the rules for the Faraday Series. So between the 2 of them, they got the right answer in the end. But even the rules official weren't quite sure. But yeah, as we mentioned, and as you mentioned there about the rules book, they changed it a couple of years ago. And when they changed it, the whole idea of that was to simplify it, and the rules book actually got bigger on the back of that. So there's the logic there.
Just talking of rules, because it is exciting. We will come to the news, but I don't think there's too much to go through on that. But it was a year ago, I was involved in a major rules controversy. It wasn't me personally. We were broadcasting with the ITS tour. It was Chris Hansen against Dan Brown. Of course, Chris Hansen's played on the European tour. Dan Brown's now playing on the European tour. And they were in a playoff together. We were broadcasting it live. And it was up at Rockcliffe Hall. And Chris won't mind me saying it. And he hit his drive. And I don't know if anybody's ever played Rockcliffe at the first. There's trees and there's a fence that runs along. You hit it left. It was out of bounds, basically. And he dropped it where he dropped it was the wrong side of the fence. He dropped it fairway side, so basically taking advantage. But at the time, that we thought that was right. And he even asked Dan, "Are you happy with me doing that?" And Dan was like, "Yeah, I guess so. I don't really have a problem with it." Chris went on to win the tournament. Right, 2 holes later, he ended up winning the tournament, run a check for like $5,000 or something. 48 hours later, he realised he'd looked back. People had got in contact watching the coverage and said, "You've cheated." Not intentionally, but you've done the job
wrong, basically. Yeah.
So he forfeited, stepped out. Dan Brown took the tournament. Now this went off. This made it into Golf Monthly, made it into the Daily Mail. It went everywhere. And now England Golf use that footage of what to do and what not to do in that sort of situation. So England Golf now use that as training for their referees.
Now, one thing we have to stress here is the fact that obviously the word cheating has been mentioned a couple of times during that, and not just in that story, but also a little earlier when we did the intro here. We could do a podcast on that, and we probably will do. We'll take a more serious look at the rules and try and go through that and how you deal with that in junior golf. This is a more fun show this today because we're gonna have a bit of a laugh about the rules and we're going to take the mickey out of them if they get it wrong, these, because there's 18 questions for them, and if they get it wrong, we're going to take the mickey. Don't worry about that. But it is fun what we're doing this evening, and we want to stress that to all the juniors and parents, whatever, that try and be, no one out there, if they make a mistake with the follow the rules extent, not everyone is out there to cheat. It might just be a very simple mistake, the fact that they don't necessily know the rules.
Well, that's the point. That's exactly the point. When it came to this, Chris came in for a bit of stick from people accusing him of cheating. Simple fact is, we just weren't aware. He didn't know at the time, and he didn't do it intentionally. And as soon as he realised that he'd made the wrong call, he held his hands up and forfeited, disqualified himself from his own tournament. So it's cheating is a very harsh word to use. It was lack of knowledge, perhaps, is a better way of didn't know the rules is a better way of saying it.
That's it. Right, now we have to tell you who's coming on the show. So we've got 3 young ambassadors, England Golf young ambassadors. We've got Tom Ford, Daniel Robson, and Henry Price coming down. I'm going to be the quiz master this evening, so I'm the one who's going to be posing all the questions. Now, I don't know the rules. I have to say that. I know a few of them, but I don't know the rules. So I needed some help with that, and I'm really pleased that this guy helped me out. Mark Linton, who's the chief referee on the DP World Tour, caught up with them at the Belfry when they were the British Masters a couple of weeks ago. We went through these quiz questions, and he's given us all the correct answers. So if anyone wants to contact Ian afterwards and say, we've got the rules wrong here, don't get in touch with me, don't get in touch with Ian, get in touch with Mark Linton, because he's
tell us in the live chat, or wherever you're watching this. There's always comments. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching it. As I said, the best place is YouTube, because then we can guarantee we can see your comments in that live chat. But wherever you're watching, if you don't have you, or you can't get over to YouTube or whatever, put it in the comments if you think we're wrong. We want to know. We want to know.
Absolutely. Right. First things first, though. Let's get on with the junior golf news. As you mentioned, there not too much to cover, but there have been some competitions taking place, as you can appreciate. Start off with the England Under-18s Championship then, that took place at Effingham Golf Club. And the winner was Alex Wells from St George's Hill, and he really did play well. Scores of 68, 68, 70, and 70. So he won by 12 under par, won by 2 shots from Oliver Toya and Daniel Hayes. So very well done to him. And that's a mixed competition as well. The highest placed girl in the competition was Nelly Ong. She finished on 5 under par, 2 rounds of 66 and 68 for her in the middle of the competition there. So well done to her. Right. Continent of Europe, they played in the junior under-16s Vagliano match against Great Britain and Ireland. They got a fantastic record in this competition, and they maintained it as well, because they retained the trophy. But let me tell you, it was tight, because it finished as a 9-9 draw at Royal Dornoch. GB and Ireland were actually chasing their first ever win in this match. But like I say, really good match. Of the GB and Ireland players who did best, Olivia Costello, 3 wins and a half. Kate Dillon from Ireland as well, 3 wins and a half. And Sadie Adams, she won 3 times as well. So well done to those players. Chloe Talbard, Rosie Kim, and Isabella Kelly were the other players in the GB and Ireland team, should say. Right, at the start of the month, competition took place over in Wales. The Silver Dragon and the Golinus Oak, and then combined, it was the W.I. Tucker Trophy. The Silver Dragon was won by Tom Bastow from Isle of Purbeck. He shot 73 and 69, won by 2 shots. And the Golinus Oak, which was played at Newport Golf Club, that was won by Tom Bastow. with a 71 and a 67. So he won by 4 with that. So guess what? With the combined competition, guess who won, Ian?
Bairstow.
Tom Bastow, absolutely, won by 8 shots, of course. Obviously, if you combine the two of them, he won the first 2. He's bound to win the combined competition. So incredibly well done to him for winning all the 3 trophies there. Right, Midland Youth Championship, actually a couple of Midlands competitions. The Midland Youth Championship took place at Stoke Rochford. That was won by Andrew Haswell, shot 68, 70, 72, and a final round 64. No bogeys in his final round. 2 birdies on the front 9. The 11th had an eagle 2. The 12th, he had a birdie 2, and then he had another 2 on the 17th hole. So what a way to win that competition. Incredibly well done to him. And at the same competition, or the same venue, it was the Midlands Under-21 Girls Closed Amateur Championship. That was won by Isabel Rafferty, 75, 73, 71. So she got better as the competition went on. And eagle the 16th hole in that final round, which pretty much sealed it for her. Now, over in Ireland, a few competitions over there. Irish Boys and Girls Amateur Championship. Won by John Doyle from Photo Ireland. He beat Noah Bickerstaff 3-1 in the match play competition. Gavin Tierney was actually the league qualifier. 2 rounds of 64 to win the qualifying tournament, won by 8 shots. But credit to Doyle because he beat him in the quarterfinals 6-5. So that proves how good a player he is. He beat the top player in the qualifying and then went on to win the whole tournament. The girls competition was won by Keem O'Grady. She beat Katie Pooks in the final by 1 hole. Leinster Under-14s Boys Amateur Championship, that took place as well. Jane Murray from Roganstown won on countback from Niall Keneally. Both of them shot one under par round of 71. Keneally, though, 1 under par back 9. Murray also 1 under par back 9 for 8 of his holes, apart from 1, which was the 15th hole, where he got a hole in 1.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's the way to make sure that you win it on countback, isn't it? To get a hole in 1 on the back 9.
That's the way to do it.
Women's Pleasington putter, par 74 course. This is Amelia Wan won it with a 69. I say it's a par 74, but 6 par 5 holes on that course, and she birdied 5 of them. So that is the way to make sure, ladies, girls, they tend to have a bit more par 5s. But they might well have these par 5s, but you've got to make the most of them. And wow, did she do that? Won by 3 shots with around the 73. Couple of more competitions then just to finish with. England Golf Northern Counties Boys Qualifier. So this is a team event, was won by Yorkshire. Big county, obviously, Yorkshire. I mean, I'll give you some of the names, and these are regular names mentioned on this podcast. Dylan Shaw Radford, George Hanson, Tom Hartshaw, and Josh Berry, Jake Norgraves, and Jack Wallace, who won the best individual with 2 rounds of 69. They won by 38 shots.
Wow.
From Lancashire and Northumberland. So talk about a dominant performance. That took place at Shrigley Hall. And talking about dominant performances, some of the big houses winning these competitions. Surrey, they won the South East Boys Championship. That took place at John and Gaunt Golf Club. They won by 5 from Essex. The individual winner was Freddie Sergey. So well done to them. Like I say, the big counties winning these big events. They'll meet in I think it's the Northern Southern, then the Midlands, and I think it might be the Southwest as well, meeting in a grand final coming up in a few weeks' time. So well done to all the players who played in junior competitions. There's been lots taking place, and there will be when we do our next podcast, there's going to be lots more, because obviously we're going to be starting getting to the summer holidays where we're going to have junior competitions coming left, right, and centre. So
well, can I give a mention as well to Ruby Sutton and Grace Anderson? I was broadcasting the Trilby Tour on Monday up at KP, Killick Percy, just outside York. Ruby's youngest player, I believe, to have played on the Trilby Tour this season. I mean, there's only been 2 events, but she was the youngest player by a mile in the field. Grace Anderson was playing as well, and a bit of a quandary for her. She's been offered a place. She's a ski instructor as well, and she can't decide whether to. She's been offered quite a high-profile job. She's only a youngster, coaching under 12s for England skiing, or to continue golf. So I was trying to convince her to continue golf, but there you go. But great to see the youngsters playing. Okay, it's only an amateur tour, but it's quite a big one. So it's nice to see them out in the field.
Actually, and it's a good point you made there about different sports and whether to go for one sport or another, because it's something we were going to mention a little bit later on when we finish the podcast, just to give you a heads up on podcasts we've got coming up. But we have got a podcast coming up on golf and other sports, and we'll look at how golf might help your other sports, and vice versa, where it might not help your other sports, and also where other sports help your golf. So got interviews with Andrew Strauss, who we spoke to at the Sunday Go Foursomes earlier in the year. Also today I did an interview with a, and this is where the link comes in, a golfer who plays on the Ladies European Tour, and she was very much into her skiing when she was younger. Comes from Austria, very, very good golfer now, but at that time, and also she played other sports as well. And I was asking the question, where skiing, you have to be a bit careful with that, because obviously you could get yourself injured and, you know, might ruin your golf career and things like that, you see. So fascinating talking to her. And I will be talking to another pro on the Ladies European Tour who for 5 years as a youngster was pretty much, well, the top of one sport and the top of golf, and she had to make a decision about which one to go for. So fascinating talking to these people who play different sports, and also whether you do specialize in one sport or whether you try and play different sports. That's a podcast for another day though, and we have got some big names coming up on this Progress Junior Golf podcast in the weeks and months ahead, so I'll give you a bit of a heads up and let you know a few of the names which will come up a little bit later on. But this is the podcast this evening. We've got a big one. It's going to be fun because we are going to be doing a rules quiz. 18 quiz questions. We're going to give multiple choice questions and answers to our guests. We're going to bring them on now. Tom Ford, Daniel Robson, Henry Price, who are England Golf Young Ambassadors. There's Henry warming himself up. He's getting himself keyed. You can tell he's competitive there. He's warming up, ready for this. Right. Good evening, guys. Are we are we ready for this? Are we ready to show your prowess and show that you know all the rules of golf, because you all do, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Right. So let's get straight on with it then, because we've got a lot to go through. Some of these questions are going to be quite easy. Some of them are going to be not quite so easy. I'm going to give you 4 options. We're going to show up once I give you the question. You're going to give us your answer, and then we're going to hear from Mark Litton, who's the chief referee of the EP World Tour, with the answer, and we're going to see whether you can get them right or not. And now, like Ian said earlier, if anyone at home is watching this and want to get involved, please get in touch and give your answers as well, and we'll show those as well and see whether you've got them right as well. Right, let's go on with the first question then. So, question number 1 then. How many golf clubs are you allowed in the back? A, 13, B, 14, C, 15, or D, as many as you can fit in your golf bag? A, B, C, or D. Show your card now. We've got, and I love the fact that they've all put it the wrong way around. No, Henry's got it right. Well done.
Yeah, make sure
Tom,
to.
I'll let you off even though you put it the wrong way around there. Right, let's find out whether that is the correct answer or not. Let's hear from Mark Litton. Let's hear from him first of all, just to explain who he is, and then we'll hear his answer to the first question. This is Mark.
My name is Mark Litton. I am the Director of Rules or Chief Referee of the DP World Tour.
So question 1, let's hear what Mark has to say about that. How many golf clubs are you allowed in the back?
You're allowed 14.
So the answer was B, and everyone's correct. Well done already. So you've not humiliated yourself for the first question, so congratulations on that. Right, second question then. If you tee your ball up in front of the tee marker and hit your shot, what happens? Is it A, you play the tee shot again, but there's a 2-shot penalty for not playing within the teeing area? Is it B, you play the tee shot again, but there's a 1-shot penalty for not playing within the tee area? Is it C, you play the ball from where it lies, but it's a 2-shot penalty? Or is it D, nothing happens, you're allowed to tee it off from wherever you like on the golf course? What do we think? A, B, C, or D? We have an A. We have an A.
Was A, you have to play it again with a 2-shot?
No, A was you play the tee shot again, 2-shot penalty for not playing within the tee area. So yes, it's 2-shot penalty. A. Right. Let's hear from Mark Litton. Let's see what the answer is. If you tee your ball up in front of the tee marker and hit your shot, what happens?
You must play within the teeing area, and it would be a 2-shot penalty.
Okay, all correct again. So 2 out of 2 for everyone so far. We're doing pretty well here. The 100% record is on. Right, question number 3 then. If your ball goes over the red stakes, you can play the ball from where it lies with no penalty. But there are 3 other options with a 1-shot penalty. which one of these 4 options is not an option? So this is a not. So you can either A, you can take lateral relief within 2 club lengths. B, you can go back as far as you like, keeping the point of entry. You can C, play another ball from where you just played from, or D, you can drop where you meant to hit the ball. So which one of those is not an option? D. Or D. Let's hear from Mark. If your ball goes over the red stakes, where do you play from?
Right, you have a multitude of options. You could play the ball from within. You could have a lateral relief within 2 club lengths. You can go back as far as you like, keeping the point of entry, or you can go back and play another ball from where you've just played from, all under a 1-shot penalty, other than the one where you play it where it lies.
Okay, so Mark has obviously given all the correct answers there. So the answer which wasn't correct there was you can drop the ball where you meant to hit it. Wouldn't that be nice? Right, so you're all done well, all got them right so far. At some stage, you're going to get one of them wrong, or at least I hope so anyway. Right, question number 4. If your ball goes over the white stakes, out of bounds, where do you play from? Is it A, you play again from where you played your previous shot from with no penalty? You play again from where you played your previous shot from with a 1-shot penalty? You take lateral relief within 2 club lengths of where the ball crossed the white stakes with a 2-shot penalty? Or you play from where you meant to hit the ball with no penalty? So we have B. Let's have the answer. Question number 4. If your ball goes over the white stakes, so out of bounds, where do you play from?
From where you played your previous shot from, under a 1-shot penalty.
So the answer is B. Once again, correct. Well done, boys. You're doing very well. Right. They are going to get harder, I think. Question number 5 then. If you hit a shot and your ball hits your own golf bag, what happens? Is it A, you play again from where you played your previous shot from with no penalty? You play the ball from where it lies with no penalty? Or you play the ball from where it lies with a 1-shot penalty, so that's C? Or D, you throw your golf bag in the bin for getting in the way of your best shot of the day? Is it A, B, C, or D? C, B. Right, so we definitely know someone's going to get this right or wrong. Okay, question number 5. Let's hear the answer. If you hit a shot and your ball hits your own golf bag, what happens?
Nothing. You just carry on, no penalty.
The answer was B. And I think Daniel was the only one who got that right. Is that correct, Daniel? Good lad. Right. So, Daniel's 1 up. Question number 6 then. If you play the wrong ball, what do you do? A, you must play the correct ball again, no penalty. B, you must play the correct ball again, 1-shot penalty. C, you must play the correct ball again, 2-shot penalty. Or D, carry on playing, no penalty. You've lost 1 ball, you've found 1 ball, you're still even, carry on. Okay, we're all in agreement. C. Question number 6, let's find out the answer. If you play the wrong ball, what do you do?
You must correct that and play the correct ball again, a 2-shot penalty.
Okay, so all correct there then. So Daniel's still leading by 1 at the moment then. Question number 7 then. If another golfer marks your ball, what do you do? So, A, you must replace your ball with a 1-shot penalty for the person who marked your ball. B, the person who marked the ball must replace the ball, but if you replace it, it's a 1-shot penalty. C, you or the person who marked the ball can replace your ball with no penalty. Or D, the person who marked your ball must use your ball from now onwards, and you now have a free choice of the best Pro V that they have in their bag. So is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so we've got a couple of B's and Daniel with C. Let's find out. Question number 7, what's the answer? And another golfer marks your ball, what do you do?
Nothing. You just replace it and carry on.
Okay, so the answer was C. So Daniel was the only one who got that right. Now, the interesting thing with that question is that rule was actually one of the ones which was changed a couple of years ago. So I don't know whether Henry or Tom have been going through the rules book from a couple of years ago, but that had slightly changed from a couple of years ago. So interesting one there. Right, let's move on though. Number 8 then. If you hit the ball twice with the same swing, what happens? Is it A, it counts as one shot with a one-shot penalty? B, it counts as one shot with no penalty? C, you replace the ball to its original location and play the shot again with no penalty? Or D, you immediately give a contract as a trick shot golfer? So 2 B's and an A. Okay, so let's hear the answer of question 8. If you hit the ball twice with the same swing, what happens?
Nothing. It just counts as one shot with no penalty.
Okay, so that was answer B, which I think Henry and Tom got that one correct. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Daniel didn't. So back to 1 up then for Daniel. Right. Last one then, the front 9 then. Question number 9 then. Are you allowed to take practice swings in a bunker? A, you're allowed to take practice swings, but if you make contact with the sand, it's a one-shot penalty. B, you're allowed to take practice swings, but if you make contact with the sand, it's a 2-shot penalty. C, you are not allowed to take practice swings in the bunker, 2-shot penalty. Or C, you're not allowed to take practice swings in the bunker. In fact, you're not even allowed to stand in the bunker, because if you hit the ball in there, you're not good enough to play on the golf course. You have to leave the golf course straight away. Is it A, B, C, or D? So very interested. A, B, C. Question number 9 then. Let's get the answer. How many practice swings are you allowed in a bunker?
This depends on whether you make contact with the sand in your practice swing. If you make contact with the sand with the practice swing, it would be a 2-shot penalty. So you would be allowed no practice swings.
Okay, so the answer is B there. Well done to Henry, who was the only one who got that one correct there. So, what do you think so far then, guys? Obviously, you've got some of them right, some of them you've got them wrong. So I'll start with you first then, Daniel. Some of those rules, have they surprised you, the fact that you thought you knew them beforehand and we've tricked you a little bit then, or I don't know if we can actually hear Daniel. We can't actually hear Daniel. We might need to just check his microphone then. So I'll come to Henry then with that one. Does it surprise you with some of these rules, the fact that you did or didn't know them?
Yeah, some of them that were changed I'm not very used to, because I play quite a lot and I'm usually not very enlightened about the rules because I'm not really in those positions, but it's a bit annoying to find out that some of them are just slightly different to what they used to be.
And what about you, Tom? You're probably the oldest of the 3 here. Does that surprise you, the fact that you've not got all of them right so far?
I think sort of, but as Henry says, like, you're not always in these situations. So there's some rules that I just haven't had to apply to golf yet. And I mean, that's like, there's some reasons that's why I carry a rule book in my golf bag.
Probably why.
There's some situations where you just need the rule book.
Yeah. How are we doing with your sound, Daniel? Can we hear you now? Or?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, so that's good. Right. Okay. So has it surprised you? You actually, to be fair, I think you've only got one of them wrong, or you might have got 2 of them wrong so far. But has it surprised you, the fact that you've not got all 9 of them so far?
I don't say it surprises me. It's just they change them so often. Keeping up with them is a bit hard sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Okay, we'll have a bit more of a chat later about how you deal with these types of situations when you may not know the rules as we're going on. But let's continue with the quiz then, because we're trying to keep it as fun as possible here. And as you can see here, you know, you're getting some of them right, you're getting some of them wrong, but they can be a little bit quirky. So let's go on to number 10 then. Right, 10. If your ball comes to rest against the rake in a bunker, what do? You put a T-peg next to the ball, pick the ball up, drop the ball from knee height into the bunker within 1 club length of the T-peg, and then you play the ball from there with no penalty. That's A. B, you put a T-peg next to the ball, move the rake. If the ball moves, as long as it does not move any closer to the hole, play from where it lies, no penalty. C, you put a T-peg next to the ball, move the rake. If the ball moves, you replace the ball to its original spot with no penalty. Or D, you use the prongs on the rake to scoop the ball up and flick it out of the bunker, and hopefully it will go in the hole with no penalty. So is it A,
That's how it
B,
works.
C, or D? So we have B, 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 B. Okay, let's hear what the answer is. If your ball comes to rest against the rake in a bunker, what do?
You put a T-peg next to the ball, remove the rake. If the ball moves, you simply replace the ball, no penalty.
So there's no mention there at all about moving the ball if it moves any closer to the hole there. It's just simply a case of if the ball moves, you move it back to its original spot. So the actual answer was C. So none of you got that one right. Right, number 11 then. If a ball from off the green hits your ball while it's on the green, moving your ball to another spot, what do? A, your ball is moved back to its original spot on the green with no penalty. B, you play your ball from wherever it is on the green with no penalty. C, your ball is moved back to its original spot on the green, no penalty to you, but the player who hit your ball is given a 1-shot penalty. Or D, you play your ball from where it is on the green and you have the opportunity to throw the other ball wherever you want on the golf course. A, B, C, or D? So A. Let's find out the answer to number 11. If your ball is hit by another ball whilst on the green and it moves to another spot, what do?
The ball that was moved gets replaced where it was, and you carry on, no penalty.
Okay, so you all got that one right. Now, the interesting part of that question is if the ball which hit your ball, if that was actually on the green, then that player would get a penalty for hitting your ball. And the interesting thing about that is I actually covered a golf competition recently where I was taking photos of a particular player and the ball was just off the green, and that happened and they didn't get the penalty, but obviously afterwards I had to explain to them that if your ball had been on the green, you would have been penalised by doing that. So a little advice for anyone watching out there: always mark your ball on the green if you think that it might get hit by a ball, or if you are hitting a shot and you think that ball might be in your way. Just ask your playing partners to mark their ball, or you make sure that your ball is marked. So a little advice for you there. Right, number 12 then. Well done for everyone to getting that on, because that could have been a trick question, that one, because that actually depended on whether it was on the green or off the green. Right, number 12 then. If you sign for a score higher than you actually scored on a hole, what happens? Is it A, your higher score counts, no penalty? Is it B, your higher score counts, 2-shot penalty? C, you are disqualified for signing for an incorrect hole score? Or D, you play golf again. If you want to play golf again, you'll be asked to do a GCSE maths exam and you have to get a C grade to be allowed on a golf course again. So is it A, B, C, or D?
That's evil.
It is C. Right. Let's find the answer. Number 12. If you sign for a score higher than you actually scored in a hole, what happens?
That score counts. You sign for a score that's higher, that's it.
Now, isn't that interesting that all three of you thought that if you sign for a score higher than you actually get, you would have been disqualified? No, you wouldn't be disqualified. You just have to keep that higher score. So little advice once again there for anyone out there. Make sure you get the right score on your scorecard. You might not get disqualified putting that on there, but it's not going to do you any good because you just signed for a score too high. Right, number 13 then. If you sign for a score lower than you actually scored on a hole, what happens? Is it A, your lower score counts, no penalty? Is it B, your lower score counts, 2-shot penalty? Is it C, you are disqualified for signing the wrong card on the wrong score on the card? Or is it D, you'll be asked to be the official scorer for Donald Trump? So is it A, B, C, or D? Is this when you sign for a score lower than you actually scored? C again. Let's have the answer. Number 13. If you sign for a score lower than you actually scored on a hole, what happens?
I'm afraid it will be a disqualification.
Yeah, you're all right there in the sense of the obviously signing for a lower score. You know, we used the word, me and Ian, when we were talking earlier about cheating. That potentially could be interpreted as you trying to cheat and trying to actually get the wrong score. Obviously, you might do it inadvertently, you might just miscount, but obviously in that circumstances, there isn't any leeway and you would be disqualified. Right, we're getting towards the end of this then. Question number 14. I've lost score of actually who's leading or what here. I think it's Daniel and Henry, I think, are level still at the moment here, because you pretty much will put the same scores, the same answers for the back nine here. But right, question number 14 then. If you take a swing at the ball but miss it, what happens? Is it A, you count it as one shot? Is it B, you count it as one shot with a one-shot penalty? Is it C, you do not count it as a shot? Or D, you're allowed to pick the ball up and place it where you expected it to go? A, B, C, or D? So a couple of A's and a C. That's question number 14. Let's get the answer. If you take an intentional swing at the ball but miss it, what happens?
That counts as one stroke. Carry on.
Okay. So I suppose you might be use the word intentional there for the question, but it's still a shot at the ball, so therefore it counts as one shot. So A was the answer, Daniel. Unfortunately, it does not count, or it does count as a shot. So C was the wrong answer. A was the correct answer. So at the moment, Henry's leading, I think, by one from Tom and Daniel, but we've still got a few holes to play here. He might bottle it over the last few holes. You never know. So
No.
Right. Question number 15 then. If your ball is moved by an animal, insect, or bird, what do you do? So is it A, you play the ball where it finishes with a one-shot penalty? Is it B, you play the ball where it finishes, no penalty? Is it C, you replace the ball to where it was, no penalty? Or is it D, you're allowed to move the ball even closer to the hole because the animal or insect or bird has obviously completely misread the slope of the putting and has put it in the wrong position? So is it A, B, C, or D? C. Let's find out whether that's the correct answer or not. Question number 15, here's the answer. If your ball is moved by an animal, insect, or bird, what do you do?
You replace the ball to where it was, no penalty.
Okay, so well done. All got that one correct then. 3 holes to play then. And actually, I don't know whether I've seen plenty of clips on YouTube and Twitter and things like that, whereby there's people who've been videoing insects knocking their ball on the green and saying, well, I didn't touch it, and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, that's tough. It still has to go back from where it was placed. So obviously something which rarely happens, but it does happen occasionally. Right, number 16 then. So if your ball ends up in a divot on the fairway, what do you do? Do you A, play the ball from where it lies? B, you put a tee peg next to the ball, drop the ball from knee height within 1 club length of the tee peg, and then play the ball from here, no penalty? Is it C, you put a tee peg next to the ball, drop the ball from knee height within 1 club length of the tee peg, play the ball from there, but it is a one-shot penalty? Or D, you play the ball from where it lies, but it doesn't count as a shot because you can't be blamed for another golfer not repairing their divot mark? Is it A, B, C, or D? 3 A's. Question number 16. Let's find out the answer. If your ball ends up in a divot on the fairway, what do you do?
Unlucky, you're playing it.
So yeah, absolutely correct there. Obviously, it's just the luck of the draw. If it ends up in the divot, that's tough. I don't know if you remember, there was a few years ago, it might have been a year or so back, I think Paul Casey was playing in the tour event, came to the 18th hole and his ball ended up in the divot, and he just couldn't take the risk of trying to clear water to hit the green and almost had to just lay the ball up short of the water for that particular reason. Just a bit unlucky, but that's unfortunately is golf then. Right, 2 holes to play then. Number 17. If you hit a provisional ball into the hole, what do you do with your original ball? So is it A, if you find the original ball, you decide whether you want to play this ball or take the provisional ball? Is it B, if you find the original ball, you have to play this ball? If it's not found, the provisional ball is now in play. Is it C, once the ball is in the hole, your score has been made? Or is it D, once the ball is in the hole, your score has been made, but you don't count that original shot because you've just proved how good a golfer you are by holding out with that shot. So you actually take 1 shot off your score. Is it A, B, C, or D? B, B, B. Let's find out. Number 17. Here's the answer. If you hit a provisional ball into the hole, what do you do with the original ball?
It depends whether you find it or not. If it is found, you have to play your original ball. If it's not found, then that provisional ball is the one that counts.
Okay, we might well come to this question in a little while, at the end of the quiz, just to have a few anecdotal stories about this type of scenario here. But well done, you all got it right. So I think Henry's still one up, going down the last now. So Dormy won, but we do have a playoff question just in case. Right, question number 18 then. If you take a practice swing, take a divot which hits your ball, what happens? Is it A, if the ball moves, you replace the ball to its original spot, no penalty? B, if the ball moves, you replace the ball to its original spot with a 1-shot penalty? Is it C, you play the ball from where it lies, but with a 1-shot penalty? Or D, we've just proved how accurately you can hit a divot, so your next shot does not count towards your score? So is it A, B, C, or D? We have an A, a C, and a C. Question number 6, question number 18 then, and this is the answer. So if you take a practice swing, take a divot which hits your ball, what happens?
If the ball is moved by that divot, then you would have to replace it, and it would be a 1-shot penalty.
So we had an A and a C and a C, and the actual answer was B. If the ball moves, you replace the ball to its original spot with a 1-shot penalty then. So there, what's the moral of the story there? If you're going to take practice swings, make sure it's to the side of the ball, so just in case it hits that ball and suddenly you've got yourself a 1-shot penalty. So be careful of that. Right, so I think at the end of all that, I think Henry probably did win there, but just for fun, we'll have the playoff question, which hopefully Ian has got lined up for us, just to see whether we can get this one. It is a bit of a fun question, this one, just to find out. So the playoff question is, how many pages are there in the official R&A rules book then? So who thinks we can get the closest to it then? So Henry's the clubhouse leader, because obviously he's the one who's won the 18 holes here. What do you think? How many pages do you think there are in the rules book?
I'm thinking somewhere around 1,750.
1,750. What about you, Tom? How many do you think?
627.
627. And Daniel?
1,000.
1,000. Okay. I think hopefully we've got the answer here from Ian. Let's hear from from Mark, the rules official. Let's find out what the actual answer is. How many pages are there in the official R&A rules book?
There are 256 pages.
So there are actually only 256 pages in the official rules book. The problem is that there are then supplementary rules book which probably take it up to closer to 600 to 1,000 and all that type of thing, you see. So even though, like you mentioned there, Tom, earlier, the fact that you carry a rules book within you, there are still supplementary rules to go with that which make it a lot more. I mean, I think I said to Ian earlier, the fact that when they tried to simplify the rules book, it actually grew and got bigger. And that's the reason why, is the fact that the actual supplementary rules book got more. But right, okay, so what do we think of that then? Obviously lots of questions there. There was a few of them you got right, well done. There was a few of them you got wrong. What do you think that you learned from this then, Henry, in the sense of can you do more to try and learn the rules, or is it almost impossible? Are there too many out there?
I think you can do more by watching the game, trying to get into the game and trying to try different scenarios almost. And the way you can basically do that is basically just try it and hit it in the rough, or try and get like a RNA booklet, or maybe you can just go online and search for rules, because usually they've got it open for people to access, to know certain things, to help people to play the game and enjoy it.
What about you, Tom? Like I say, you're possibly the oldest of all of us here. In the sense of it, when you would hope that you if you're playing with slightly younger golfers, do you try and help them with those rules when you're out there, in the sense that you think that you might know more than them, and but even now you've kind of like, I don't know, you tell me, you're thinking, oh, perhaps I don't.
I think when I go out with younger golfers, definitely the first time there are no rules really. I mean, there's obviously etiquette the first time you go out, but and you encourage the rules, but you don't strictly enforce them, because then people will just sort of lose interest if they go out the first time and they just being rules left, right and centre. I just don't think for the first time it's right to have rules, unless it's competition. Obviously then you've got to have rules. If you're just going out for a casual round, then I think no rules first time, go out, but then start to introduce them slowly.
Yeah. And what about you, Daniel? Has it surprised you what you've seen and heard with some of these rules, the fact that you might not have known them beforehand?
I think just with some of the rules, it just keeps changing and changing. So trying to keep up to date, you just need to try and do as best as you can. You know what I mean? As long as you know the main ones. How do I say main ones? As in main ones that come up the most, you should be all right. You know what I mean?
Well, there's some of those. I mean, there was one which I said I would come back to, and that was the provisional ball in the hole. And I suppose we've all been in that scenario whereby we've hit a ball out of bounds or whatever, or we've hit it into a bush, and then we've got our provisional and we smashed it down the middle of the fairway, and we just thought to ourselves, I'll take my provisional, thanks. Have you been in that scenario? We'll start with you, Dan. You've been in that scenario yourself and just thought, I don't even want to look for the ball because I actually prefer where I am. If I find it there, I'm going to be, hacking it out or something, and might end up making a big score.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. But I think at the end of the day, I think even if you have hit your provisional good, in a way, you kind of got to think about the bad shot you hit and just try and get that out as best you can, because in a way, you're taking less from where you are, if you know what I mean, in a way.
Have you ever been in a scenario whereby you found the ball? I'll come to Tom on this one. Where you found in that scenario whereby you've gone to look for the ball, in your head you're thinking, well, I'm going to look, but I don't really want to find it, and then you found it. You thought to yourself, oh, why did I even bother looking?
Yeah, there's definitely moments where I've hit a provisional ball like really well, and then gone to look for my first one and ended up making a cricket score. And it's like you do want to look, but I think there's a rule actually, you can't declare a ball lost. Is that right? I'm not 100%.
That's one for us to test out on another rules quiz, perhaps.
I think there is a rule saying that you can't declare a ball lost. You have to go and look for it, maybe.
Possibly, yeah. It's one where, once again, we need to check on these. That's something where you as an England Golf Young Ambassador and me as someone who plays golf, these are little rules whereby we perhaps should know. Okay, I'll ask Henry. Are you aware of that rule? Do you think that is a rule?
Yes. Usually, you can't declare it lost until 3 minutes are up when you're looking through it. Usually, when you look for it, you have to be everybody needs to be looking for it at the time, or everybody that's trying to look for it. And you have a 3 minute time. By that time, if you don't find it, then it is declared lost.
Yeah. I suppose in those circumstances, you might think to yourself, what is looking? Is it, is it just walking around there and like actually, properly looking, or is it you just going, just for the sake of it? Look, we're going down different rules, different alleys of what may or may be taking the rules kind of thing. But okay, at the start, with Ian and I mentioned there about the issue of cheating, and we tried to make this as fun as possible and try to just encourage people just to. But there are scenarios out there whereby people can get the wrong end of the stick, and people can think that people are cheating, and that, for the vast majority of the times, and if you like, you three have just proved it here. The fact that you thought that you knew the rules, but you may well have, in any one of those 18 scenarios there, you might well have gone down the rules of thinking of course that's what you're supposed to do, and then found out at a later date. Let's find. Has that happened to you? Has that happened to you, Tom, whereby you found out at a later date that you actually did inadvertently break the rules, and how did you feel about that if that did happen to you?
I don't think it has happened to me personally, mainly because when I play in competitions, there's obviously big groups and people can go, look, actually that's not the rule, and so I think no, it hasn't happened to me. But if it were happened to me, I'd probably feel quite bad, depending on how badly I broke the rule. Because obviously breaking a rule is breaking a rule. But I think, I'd probably feel quite bad.
What about you, Henry? Is that in that scenario? Has that ever happened to you, whereby you've found out at a later date that you might have, or you have broken rule which you just inadvertently did?
Yeah. I've had it before where I've had some teammates who I was who were told to look after me at the time because I wasn't very educated about the rules. It was a competition, and the two boys didn't tell me about the fact that I was in the tee box in front when I should have been on the yellow tees. So I ended up hitting the wrong tee, and then they told me straight after that I'd broken the rules and just supposed to hit from the yellows, which is a bit devastating, and it ended up giving me 2-shot penalty at the time. It destroyed me.
So that's why you knew that rule, I suppose, because you learned from. Sometimes you have to learn from your mistakes, don't you? In the sense of, like I say, it was an inadvertent mistake, but you soon. I bet you've never done that ever again since, have you?
Never.
What about you, Daniel? Have you ever been in that scenario whereby you've inadvertently broken a rule and found out afterwards?
I don't think I have personally, not that, because I always make sure I double check, because we're pretty strict on the rules at my place, if you know what I mean. So we have a look at them online on the England golf thing, so we know what they are. If we come to a case.
What about a scenario whereby if there are rules and they are complicated and there's just no one around you who can give you some proper advice? What advice would you give to doesn't have to be a junior, any golfer out there, about what you do in those type of scenarios whereby you just don't know?
If you don't know, I would probably have a discussion with each other and discuss based off the other rules, and try and figure out, you know what I mean, what if they're linked together, if you know what I mean, to see if you can figure it out. And then a rule, if for example, that you figure out and you're not allowed to do something, then you find out at the end, and then you've either learned something, you know what I mean. But
I suppose in those scenarios, Tom, it's a case of almost fearing the worst, in the sense of, look, if I think I may have broken the rule, then let's assume that and play it like, I'll play a provisional just in case, or I'll put it down as as a penalty, and then speak to the rules officials afterwards and say, look, did I break a rule there? In which case, then before I sign my scorecard, can you just explain the rule to me? Is that scenario happened to you whereby you've had to speak to the rules officials afterwards and say, did I break a rule there?
That hasn't happened to me personally, but I was once playing a match, and I can't remember the exact ruling. I think someone in a different group hit the person I was playing with's ball, and we weren't 100% of the ruling because we couldn't find this ball. And so I think what we did was we played a ball from where he was, the ball from where the ball was lying, and then we wrote those two score down, and we basically said afterwards, look, this is what happened, which score is correct? And we eventually got to the bottom of it, and it was absolutely fine. But I think there's definitely ways that you can get around it and move on with the game.
And going back to the question where we asked about where if you write the wrong scorecard on a score on a hole, whether it's higher or lower, in those circumstances, if you play two score, make sure that you, when you go in and speak to the person who's organising the competition, say to them, right, this is the scenario on the hole. Did I get the score right? If I didn't, then I'll put that score down. If I did, I'll put that score down. And actually speak to the rules officials about that. Right, we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon about this. Just one final question then to you as far as that's concerned, Henry. In those circumstances, what would your advice be then to perhaps a club? And then they have junior golfers who might not know the rules, in the sense of, someone who comes in that scenario. How should clubs or competition organisers treat that junior, in the sense that they might not know what they're doing?
Usually, whenever I play certain competitions like US Kids competitions, most of the time they usually bring a little sheet which has most of the common rules and some of the more complicated ones. And the best way that clubs can usually introduce that and try and help with people is just to try and get out certain things that might complicate people, more the common rules that little kids might not understand, and to try and enforce the fact that if they think they not find the rule, put it down the scorecard, let them know later, and then they can get it all sorted out, usually.
Actually, I mean, I did say this is obviously we're trying to keep this as fun as possible. Good. Just one question to all three of you on this then. What's the most bizarre rule you've ever heard on a golf course, whereby it might have happened in a competition? I'm kind of like putting you on the spot here, whereby you might not have thought about this. But with you, Daniel, is the one whereby you thought, really, is that an actual rule of golf? Well, I think your microphone's gone a little bit quiet again then, Daniel. So,
is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
It wasn't a bizarre one, but it was one that I didn't really know about, because you know how you got red stakes, if you go in, you have to go behind and all that. But I didn't know if you're going over water, for example, with the red stakes, if you land over the red stakes and it bounces back, you can drop your ball in front of the red stakes, which was a really bizarre one. I didn't know.
And one which probably doesn't crop up too often, kind of thing. And also, particularly with the shot, where you can imagine, I don't know how far back you were, but I would imagine you might have even seen the fact that it had done that. You just saw the fact that it was going over into the water hazard. So how do you know that it bounced back in? Was that the case for yourself, or could you actually see it do that?
I could see. I saw it bounce over the stakes, if you know what I mean, then go in. So it was one of those where I didn't know until someone explained that I could drop after the rate, the stakes, which gave me a big advantage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? Is there any bizarre rules which you've seen on a golf course?
I've heard of a rule which I think is truly bizarre. It's either a lie or just insane.
Okay.
If a ball becomes lodged in an orange, it must be played as it lies. But specifically an orange, that's what I've heard.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and you wonder whether that's actually ever happened, but who knows? It may well have done. What about you, Henry? Are there any bizarre rules whereby you've encountered some?
There's probably multiple ones, but I've just completely gone blank for most of them. But one that I do know, which is usually just with some certain golf clubs, is you can't go over your buggy or on trolleys on certain hills or certain areas that you have to go round instead on the path, instead of going straight to the ball. Like on a golf club called Kennick, usually you have to follow the path. So if your golf ball is on the other side of the grass and like a tree's on the far left, you have to take either your buggy or your trolley all the way around the path on the far right, and then you have to walk across there with either a club you selected, and then you've got to go play it from where it is, which is usually quite an inconvenience.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. You mentioned that about when you played in some of the competitions. I don't know, one of you mentioned about when you play in competitions, they give you like some of the basic rules and some of the things like that. That's a good point there, where that's a local rule, and that's obviously one whereby when you speak to, you would hope that when you played in that competition, they would explain that local rule to you, so you're aware of it even before you went out there. But that's a little bit of advice for people there. Just be aware that there might be some quirky local rules. Obviously, one which I'm sure you've all encountered is internal out of bounds, whereby you wouldn't even know it was internal out of bounds until someone has said to you, actually, you're not allowed to play onto that fairway because, and that can catch people out, can't it? I'm sure that has caught probably all three of you out in the sense of you've weren't even aware of the fact that if you put it on a different fairway, then that's not allowed. Right, just one last thing then. Obviously, I've asked for you a little bit of advice about what you think should be done and everything like that. Let's just hear from Mark. He's got some just very simple advice to junior golfers out there, which pretty much will back up what you mentioned already. But here's what Mark has to say. His advice. What would your advice be to juniors about the rules of golf? How important is it to learn them and
I think everybody should know the basic rules of golf. A ball, if you hit it out of bounds, if you hit a ball into a penalty area, there are probably 5 good basic rules that every player should know.
Yeah, I think that's pretty sound advice, isn't it? As long as you've got the basics of knowing the rules of golf, then no one really should be blamed if they get the quirky ones wrong, or the ones whereby those 18 questions the first ask you there. Some of them are very basic ones. Some of them are a little bit more unusual, whereby some of those are once in a lifetime. I mean the one whereby someone hitting a divot and the ball hitting the. I've played golf for 40 years. I've never ever seen that happen apart from on television once. So these are rules whereby they're not going to crop up on too many occasions. So right, I've just got one last thing. I did meet Henry at the British Masters earlier this year, and he was saying how confident he was that he was going to win this quiz, kind of thing. I also mentioned to him the fact that I was going to show a photo of him, which I took of him a few years ago. Now he did mention the fact that with this quiz he was going to finish top of the tree, and I tell you what, he's absolutely right, because I got a photo to prove it.
No, oh come on! I look like a bloody meerkat. Oh, you're a bully.
Yes, I could have picked many different photos as well, which I got over the years there, but I appreciate you posing for me. I don't actually remember where that was, actually, the golf course. You might remember, or how long ago it was. I suspect it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago at least, but yeah, I know, I'm cruel, you're right. Right, look, really appreciate you coming on this evening. We've done a rules quiz and tried to make the issues of learning the rules of golf as fun as possible. And look, you've done really well in answering these 18 questions, but as you've kind of shown, sometimes you may not quite know all of them. When I went through that 18 quiz questions, and I mentioned to Ian earlier, I went up to a rules official and went through these 18 questions, and there was at least 2 or 3 of them whereby he was like, actually, I'm not even certain myself. So that's the guys who are supposed to be looking after these rules and trying to give you the advice. Well, if they have to then look at their own rule book and their own supplementary rule book to check on these, it's understandable that junior golfers and adult golfers and all golfers don't necessarily know all the rules all the time. But look, we've had a crack at it this evening, and I really appreciate your time coming on the show. Just to mention a podcast coming up then, we mentioned a little bit earlier about the fact that we've got some special ones coming up. We're going to have one looking at the Junior Ryder Cup, and really pleased to say that we've got Stephen Gallagher on the show. He is the captain of the Junior Ryder Cup team, so we've got his thoughts on how he selects the players for the event. We've also got at least one player who's played in the match on a couple of occasions, who talks about the experience of the junior golfer being selected for it and what the emotions are playing in that event. We've got another ones coming up on mental health in junior golf. We've got one on, which we mentioned earlier, on other sports and golf as well. We're going to get involved. We're going to get more of the England Golf Young Ambassadors as well on the show. We're going to be talking about some of the things which affect juniors and their take on it. So thanks very much, Henry. Thanks very much, Tom. Thanks very much, Daniel. Thanks, of course, Ian, as well, for doing all the background work and looking after this evening. And of course, thanks very much for Mark Litton, who's the chief referee on the DP World Tour. It's really good that he took some time out to help us out with this rules quiz. So thanks very much this evening for watching the Progress Junior Golf podcast, and we will see you very, very shortly. Have a good evening.